Hi everyone, my name is Victoria Vargas and this is my second video project for strength and conditioning. The first segment of today's workout is general warm-up. To start the general warm-up, we will be walking on the treadmill for 3 minutes, beginning at 2 miles per hour speed and increasing speed every minute. Walking is a good way to begin your general warm-up as it is relatively low intensity and can facilitate adequate circulation of blood throughout the whole body, along with increasing body temperature. As previously stated in video project 1, the purpose of a warm-up is to mentally and physically prepare an athlete for their workout program. A warm-up should generally begin at a low intensity and increase in intensity as time progresses. From a 3-minute walk, we will then transition into a 4-minute jog, continuing to increase speed in 0.5 mile per hour increments every minute. This will continue for 4 minutes. It is important to ensure that the muscles are properly warmed up prior to stretching or beginning the main workout program. In the case of plyometrics, power, and speed-based activities, this is vital to do continuous rapid movements in order to prevent injuries or muscle damage. I will now be performing toe walks. This is done by plantar flexing at the ankle as I walk. This stretches the calf muscles, however, it also involves the quadricep muscles. Toe walks are good for improving balance and strengthening the ankle joint. Next are inverted walks. I will continue walking while inverting my ankles or facing the bottoms of my feet towards one another in the middle. This is good for increasing the range of motion and flexibility of the ankle joint. For everted walks, I will continue to walk while everting my ankles or facing the bottoms of my feet outwards. This is working the peroneus longus and the peroneus brevis. Everted walks are beneficial to improving ankle stability. For marching, I will walk as I flex my hip and my knee to 90-degree angles. This works the quadriceps, hamstrings, hip flexors, calves, tibialis anterior, gluteus muscles, and the core muscles. This is vital for core engagement while preventing stiffness of joints and muscles while improving hip flexibility and range of motion. Karaoke requires engagement of both upper and lower body segments as I cross my feet over one another and rotate upper body. This engages the quadriceps, latissimus dorsi, gluteus muscles, anterior tibialis, adductors, hip flexors, and the obliques. I begin the specific warm-up with glute kicks. For glute kicks, I will flex at the knee in an attempt to kick my glutes with the bottom of my foot. Glute kicks are a beneficial way to elevate the heart rate while activating the quadricep and hamstring muscles. Walking hip openers, often referred to as opening the gate, requires a flexion of the knee and the hip while abducting the hip once it has reached 90 degrees. This engages inner and outer thigh muscles, core muscles, glute muscles, while strengthening the hip flexors and the groin. This improves balance and stability. For leg swings, I will first begin with lateral leg swings where I will abduct and then adduct the hip. Then for forward leg swings, I will perform hip flexion. In the main workout program, I will be performing a speed drill using the agility ladder quick steps. For quick steps, my assistant athlete will place both feet in one square while driving the arms. This targets the abs, the calf muscles, gluteus muscles, hip flexors, hamstrings, lower back muscles, quadriceps, biceps, shoulders, and triceps. For this variation, the athlete will be performing them going forward. Quick steps lateral. For this variation, you can see me demonstrating for my assistant athlete where I am stepping with both feet in each square as I have done previously. However, this time I am facing laterally. It is important that the athlete make sure that they are stepping with both feet in each square before proceeding into the next square. Quick steps, 2 forward, 1 backwards. Once again, you can see me demonstrating for my assistant athlete where I am stepping quickly with both feet, taking 2 steps into 2 squares forward before stepping back into 1 square. The next speed-based activity with the agility ladder were single steps. 3 sets of 4 were performed. Single steps forward. For this variation, my assistant athlete will be performing single steps where they will place 1 foot into each square. This involves the glutes, the hip muscles, upper body muscles, hamstrings, quadriceps, and tibialis posterior. Agility ladder speed, single steps, skipping 1. For this variation, my assistant athlete will perform a set similar to the previous one. However, instead of placing 1 foot into each square, they will be skipping 1 square in between each step. Again, this involves the glutes, hip muscles, hamstrings, quadriceps, and tibialis posterior. Single step, skipping 2. Similar to the previous set where the athlete skipped 1 square between each step, the athlete will place 1 foot into the square before skipping 2 squares before placing the next foot into the next square. Again, this involves the glutes, the hip muscles, hamstrings, quadriceps, and posterior muscles. Because the athlete is skipping more squares between each step, it requires the athlete to drive the hips more to produce a greater stride. Agility ladder, lower body agility, scissors. For this, I will be performing 3 sets of 4. Scissors facing forward. For this variation, I will begin standing forward with my leading leg inside of the square while the other leg is on the outside. I will produce a small jumping motion, shifting my weight from the leading foot to the opposite leg. having my leading foot now outside of the square with the other foot in the square. This motion will be continued throughout the ladder for 4 repetitions. This targets the calf muscles while also targeting the glutes, groin, hamstrings, hip flexors, quadricep muscles. Scissors lateral. For this variation, I will begin standing laterally, facing the lateral aspect of the ladder, again having my leading foot going forward in the square while my other foot is outside of the square. I will produce a small jumping movement, both vertical and lateral, switching legs where my leading foot now becomes the back leg outside of the square and my other leg becomes the leading foot. Once again, this targets the groins, glutes, hamstrings, hip flexors, quadricep muscles, and calves. Scissors backwards. For this variation, the athlete will be facing away from the ladder with their leading foot in the square while the other foot is outside of the square. Once again, the movement will be a vertical jump. However, instead of forward or lateral, it will be backwards. The athlete will shift the weight from one foot onto the other, pointing the opposite leg on the outer side of the ladder and the next leg into the inside of the ladder. This targets the calf muscles, glutes, groin, hamstrings, hip flexors, and quadriceps. However, in this variation, because the athlete is moving backwards, it does require greater coordination since the athlete cannot see what is in front of them and see the ladder directly. Agility ladder, lower body agility, in and outs. For this, I will be completing 3 sets of 4. In and outs, forward. For this drill, I will begin standing on one end of the ladder facing forward, take a step with my leading leg, following by the next leg, and with my leading leg stepping outwards, stepping out with the next leg, and repeating the motion. This works the abdominal muscles, the calves, glutes, hip flexors, hamstrings, lower back, and quadricep muscles, along with the biceps, shoulders, and triceps as the athlete drives their arms. In and outs lateral. For this variation, we will once again begin on one end of the ladder, however instead of facing forward, we will begin facing laterally, with the leading leg stepping 1 foot forward into the square, followed by the next foot stepping outwards, and repeating the motion coming in and out of the ladder. Once again, this works the abdominal muscles, the calves, glutes, hip flexors, hamstrings, lower back, and quadricep muscles, along with the biceps, shoulders, and triceps as the athlete drives their arms. In and out backwards. For this variation, my athlete will begin on one end of the ladder, facing away from the ladder, stepping back with the leading foot followed by the other, stepping outwards with one leading foot, out with the next foot, and repeating the motion throughout the whole ladder. This works abdominal muscles, the calves, glutes, hip flexors, hamstrings, lower back, quadriceps, biceps, shoulders, and triceps. This variation is different from the others because the motion is being completed in a backwards motion rather than forwards where the athlete can see the ladder. This requires a greater coordination. Hurdle speed drills, hops. For this, we will be completing 3 sets of 4. Hops, double leg. For this variation, the athlete will begin on one end of the hurdles, facing forward with the feet together. The athlete will produce a vertical and forward hop, flexing at the hip and the knees to hop over the hurdle. This motion is continued. This works the quadriceps, calves, hamstrings, glutes, and hip flexors. Hops, single leg. The athlete will begin on one end of the hurdles facing forward, standing on one foot to keep the balance. The athlete will flex at the hip and the knee, jumping vertically and forward to jump over the hurdles. This works the quadricep muscles, calves, hamstrings, glutes, and hip flexors. Because the athlete is jumping on one foot rather than two, it requires greater balance, requiring more engagement of the core muscles. Hops, lateral double leg. For this variation, the athlete will begin on one end of the hurdles, facing laterally, producing a vertical and horizontal jump, flexing at the hip and the knee as they jump over the hurdle. Once again, this requires engagement of the quadriceps, calves, hamstrings, glutes, and hip flexor muscles. Hurdle speed drill, weaves. For this, we will be completing 3 sets of 4. Weaves going forward. The athlete will begin on one end of the hurdles facing forward. The athlete will then shuffle sideways around the hurdle, perform quick steps going forward, shuffle again, and continue the motion as they repeat shuffling and quick stepping forward. This forward and lateral movement engages the hip abductors, quadricep muscles, calves, hamstrings, and glute muscles. Weaves lateral. For this variation, the athlete will begin on one end of the hurdles facing laterally. The athlete will then quick step forward, shuffle sideways, back pedal backwards, shuffle again, and continue the quick step motion throughout the full circuit. Similar to the first variation, the athlete will weave throughout the hurdles. Unlike the first, however, where it was just forward and lateral motion, this one incorporates back shuffling as well. This requires engagement of the calves, the glutes, hip flexors, and hamstring muscles, along with the quadriceps. Weaves stairway. For this variation, the arrangement of the hurdles has changed. Rather than being aligned, they are shaped similar to a staircase. The athlete will step over the hurdle with the leading foot, step over the next laterally, again step forward, and step laterally. This engages the calves, hamstrings, quadricep muscles, hip flexors, and glute muscles. Battle rope power, double arm waves. For this, we will be completing 3 sets of 15. Double arm waves, standing. For this variation, the athlete will be standing in an athletic stance with their feet shoulder width apart, toes facing forward, the hips and the knees slightly bent with the spine in a neutral position. The athlete will grasp the battle ropes with both hands and bilaterally drive the arms up and down, having the ropes move in sync. This engages the abdominal muscles, the deltoid, upper and lower back, including the latissimus dorsi, and the trapezius, along with the calves, hamstrings, and quadricep muscles. Double arm waves, single leg kneel. For this variation, the athlete will be kneeling rather than standing, flexing at the hip and the knees as the athlete brings the rope upward towards the shoulder and then drives it downwards to the hip level, immediately bringing the rope back up. It is important to ensure that the ropes are moving together and that the athlete does not lock their elbows. Once again, this targets the abdominal muscles, shoulders, back, calves, hamstrings, and quadricep muscles. Double arm waves, double leg kneel. For this variation, rather than being balanced on one leg, the athlete will be on both knees, parallel to the shoulders, and the athlete will drive the rope upwards to shoulder level and then drive it back downwards to hip level. This motion will be continued immediately, ensuring that the rope is moving in sync and the athlete does not lock their elbows. This targets the shoulders, back, calves, hamstrings, and quadriceps. Battle rope power, alternating arm waves. We will be completing 3 sets of 15. Alternating arm waves standing. Once again, the athlete will begin an athletic stance with the spine in neutral position, slightly flexed at the hip and the knee. The athlete will engage the core and sink their hips backwards as they produce an alternating arm weave motion, bringing one rope up, the other down, and alternating. This engages the abdominal muscles, quadriceps, shoulders, biceps, glutes, hip flexors, hamstrings, and the back muscles. Alternating arm waves, single leg kneel. For this variation, the athlete will begin kneeling on one leg, flexing at the hip and the knee, alternating the arm waves as they drive one arm upwards, the other downwards. Once again, this targets the gluteus muscles, abdominal, quadriceps, shoulders, biceps, hip flexors, hamstrings, upper and lower body back. Because the athlete is kneeling on one leg, it requires core stability. Alternating arm waves, double leg kneel. For this variation, the athlete will begin kneeling on both knees with their knees parallel to their shoulders, driving the arms in alternate motion, one up and one downwards. Because the athlete is kneeling, it allows them to focus on the motion rather than focusing on core engagement. This works on the quadriceps, shoulders, biceps, glutes, hip flexors, hamstrings, upper and lower back. Lower body plyometrics, box drill push-offs, we will be completing 3 sets of 10. Box drill push-offs, single leg. The athlete will begin facing the box with one foot on the ground and one foot on the box. The athlete will then jump up using the foot that's on the box to push off. The athlete will land on the same foot on the box and the same foot that was on the ground. The same movement is repeated immediately. This targets the calves, glutes, hamstrings, hip flexors, and quadricep muscles. Box drill push-offs, alternating leg. The athlete will begin standing facing the box with one foot on the box and the other on the ground. The athlete would jump up using the foot on the box to push off and then land on the opposite foot, with the one that was originally on the ground now on the box and the one that was on the box now on the ground. The same movement should be repeated immediately after landing. Unlike the first variation where the athlete continuously drove off of the same foot, for this variation they will be alternating legs. Once again, this targets the quadricep muscles, the calves, glutes, hamstrings, and hip flexors. Box drill push-offs, lateral. The athlete will begin standing on one side of the box with the foot closest to the box on top of the box while the other foot is placed on the ground. The athlete will jump pushing off of the foot that is placed on the box, landing on the same foot. The foot on the box should land before the foot on the ground. The same movement will be repeated immediately after landing. This targets the quadriceps, the calves, glutes, hamstrings, and hip flexor muscles. Lower body plyometrics depth drops. For this, I will be doing 3 sets of 10. Depth drops forward. For this variation, I will begin by standing on the box, facing forward in a comfortable position with my feet shoulder width apart, with my toes near the edge of the box. With my leading leg, I will step off of the box and land on the floor with both feet, absorbing the impact. To continue, I will begin on the box again and repeat the motion. Their name for depth drops are drop frees. These work the quadricep and the calf muscles. Depth drops single leg. For this variation, I will begin standing on top of the box, standing on both feet, stepping off of the box with one foot, and landing on that foot while I hold my balance. Because I will be landing on one foot rather than two, it requires a greater stability, requiring greater core engagement. This focuses on the glutes, hamstrings, and quadricep muscles. Depth drops lateral. For this variation, we'll begin standing on top of the box, facing laterally, stepping off of one foot. However, instead of stepping forward, we will step laterally, taking a wider step to ensure a proper landing. At the end of the drop, the athlete will freeze before stepping on the box and repeating the motion again. This focuses on the quadricep muscles, hamstrings, glutes, and calf muscles. Upper body plyometrics, overhead throws, or overhead slams. For this, I will be performing 3 sets of 10. Overhead throws with 2 hands. To begin this exercise, I will begin standing in an upright position, feet relatively shoulder width apart. Once acquiring the medicine ball, I will forcefully extend my entire upper body and immediately slam the medicine ball into the floor. This involves the teres major, subscapularis, deltoid, pectoralis major, and latissimus dorsi. However, in an effort to remain standing upright, it also requires engagement of the core muscles. Overhead throws, single hand. Once again, we will begin in an upright position, feet relatively shoulder width apart. However, instead of grasping the medicine ball with 2 hands, it'll be with 1 hand, reaching upwards, extending the body, and forcefully slamming the ball onto the floor. Once again, this works the teres major, subscapularis, deltoid, pectoralis major, and latissimus dorsi along with the core muscles. Due to the large size and only using 1 hand, it requires a greater stability of the athlete to remain the 1 hand with the medicine ball above the head. Overhead throws with 2 hands kneeling. For this variation, similar to the first, we will be using 2 hands. However, instead of standing upright, we will begin kneeling with the knees relatively shoulder width apart. Once again, I will grasp the medicine ball, stretching my body upwards and forcefully slamming the medicine ball onto the floor. However, in this case, because we are kneeling rather than standing, it does not require as much core engagement and allows the athlete to focus on the movements themselves. Once again, this works the teres major, subscapularis, deltoid, pectoralis major, latissimus dorsi, and some core engagement. Shoulder pass, standing in place. The athlete begins by standing upright into a comfortable stance with the feet relatively shoulder width apart, facing their partner. The athlete begins the throw by extending the elbows. When the partner catches the ball, they will then return it by throwing the ball back to the partner. After regaining the ball, the movement should be repeated immediately. Intensity can increase by increasing the weight of the medicine ball. This targets the abdominal muscles, the chest muscles, biceps, and triceps. Chest pass, stepping forward. Similar to the previous exercise, the athlete is performing a chest pass to their partner. However, instead of standing in place, the athlete will take a step forward with the leading foot while performing the pass. To perform the pass, the athlete will throw the ball to their partner by extending at the elbows, and that partner will then catch the ball and return the ball by repeating the motion to the other athlete and return to starting position. This exercise targets the abdominal muscles, the chest, biceps, shoulders, and triceps. Chest pass kneeling. For this variation, both partners will begin kneeling and throw the ball to one another. Using both arms, each partner throws the ball to the other partner by extending the elbows. When the partner returns the ball, you catch it and return to the starting position, immediately repeating the movement. Intensity can be increased by increasing the weight of the medicine ball. For this variation, because it is kneeling, the athlete does not have to focus as much on core stability and allows them to focus on the counter movement. This movement requires engagement of the abdominal muscles, chest muscles, along with the biceps, shoulders, and tricep muscles. To begin my cool down, I will start with a 3-minute jog where I will decrease in speed every minute and then transition into a 3-minute walk. Unlike the warm-up where I increase speed every minute, I will now begin decreasing speed with every minute. Unlike the warm-up, where the goal is to increase the heart rate and the body temperature, the cool down begins at a higher intensity and gradually decreases in an attempt to lower the body's heart rate and temperature back to a normal state. Following the cool down, I will begin my cool down stretch. To start the cool down stretch, I will be performing a lying knee tuck or a knee to chest stretch where I'll be flexing the knee and the hip while grasping at the knee and pulling the knee to my chest. This is beneficial to loosening up the erector spinae, latissimus dorsi, gluteus medius, gluteus minimus, gluteus maximus, and the thoracolumnar fossa. In figure 4, I will begin lying supine, crossing my right ankle over my left knee, bringing my left knee to my chest by grasping at my leg, pulling it forward, and flexing at my hip and my knee. Lying figure 4 is beneficial for stretching the gluteus medius and inner thigh muscles while releasing tension of the hip and the back, engaging the core and arm muscles. For spinal twist, I will begin lying supine with my legs flat. I will then flex my knee and my hips to 90 degrees and rotate them to the left side of my body. This is good for stretching the IT band, glutes, piriformis, lower back, including the latissimus dorsi, abdominal muscles, obliques, chest, shoulders, and the back. I will then continue this on the other side as well. To finish off my cool down, I will be performing the cobra pose, where I'll begin lying prone on my stomach and using my arms to push my shoulders upward or pushing my chest off the ground while squeezing my shoulders. The cobra pose is beneficial for stretching the spinal erectors such as the serratus posterior, along with the serratus anterior, the rotator cuffs, abdominal muscles, hamstrings, and tricep muscles. It is important to drive the hips into the ground to ensure a proper stretch.